So when women put themselves in such a masculine war, because it was a war fought over this issue. So when you put yourself on this battlefield, that becomes dangerous, because now you about to become potentially a casualty of war, and I can't let that happen. Hey, it's spiritual politics, man. Yeah, priesthood shit. How they gonna miss the spirit with politics? I pledge allegiance to the flag that came and got us about that situation called slavery. Bitch niggas don't want to talk about it. They're gonna make up all kind of elaborate stories and shit. Get ready for it. Here we go. Union soldiers made slavery over. Harriet Tubman, she was a Union soldier. Hey everybody, welcome back to Spiritual Politics, man. It's your partner, Noble Anpu, man. Welcome back. I need you to subscribe. Click the like button, all that good stuff, man. Notifications and whatnot. But man, as you can see, today's conversation is going to be it's going to be heated. It's going to be a heated conversation. Very, very, very good. Very deep. Let me lay a premise real fast. And the premise is, we have a problem. The current black man, black woman who deals with race issues, we have a problem. And the problem is, let me just get straight to it. There's no way possible, and I said this before, there's no way possible that you can say historically what the problem is and how that problem has morphed into something that's more systematic, talking about racism, and never ever study this thing called the Civil War. I'm gonna stand on that. It's an impossibility. If you never studied the Civil War, then I think that we have to chill out and perhaps go study some things. Because see, this is what happened. Since the beginning of this country, you've always had two ideologies. That's the problem, that somehow, some way, black people don't want to recognize that. We can act like we kicking all this knowledge, but we don't want to analyze the fact. We don't want to admit the fact that there's two ideologies of white boys on this soil. Okay? And it was that of the free stater and that of the slave stater. This is a fact. History actually shows that the Europeans who came over here, we're gonna talk about the one that's more of the English type. The ones that came to the South were more from Northwest England, more closer to Ireland, Scotland, known as the Celtic fringe. And they were more of the uncivilized type. While the ones who came to Massachusetts, New England, they were more from the southeastern side of England, that area. Okay? Two totally different, distinct people. And they were more educated, more classy in a sense. And this is a fact. This is documented. Okay? And so there's two different people with the white guy, as far as ideologies goes and physical customs go, that's been on this landmass that's at the founding of these colonies that will later become the United States of America. We have to admit that. See, if we don't know that and we don't want to admit that, then you almost have to remove your argument in totality. Okay? Now, to progress the conversation some, since we know that there was two people here, two ideologies here, we have to be able to see, when we scream white supremacy, right? Then what you're really talking about is Confederate behavior. I need you to really stick with that, because that's what that is. Confederate behavior. Because at the height of this so-called white supremacy, I don't care what nobody tell me, you cannot show anything, domestically speaking, that was worse than slavery. As far as the physical treatment in the racist system goes, nothing was worse than slavery. I think we can agree that's really the starting point of our pain and why we're upset about it. Okay. Even though it didn't happen to us. So perhaps that PTSD, and I wrote about it, is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, genetically passed on to us. Without a shadow of a doubt. I'm with you with PTSD from stress, from slavery, although we didn't endure it. I'm with that. But if that was the apex, slavery, then we have to understand the history, perhaps how the rise of the slave power came and how it actually fell, because it fell. And what happens is, as I said before, when we can't admit that a different group of white people, i.e. later known as the North, will literally get in this thing called the Civil War, and they will ride and get black people free. At the end of the day, that's what happened. So we can't admit that white people got us free. And so when we don't know this history, such as behind me on the wall, when we don't know this history, our minds start to make up stuff to sound deep, and we'll say things like, well, the North had an agenda, and that agenda was they can make more money off you when you come up here and work. Like that's what we do. I've seen this. Trust me, I've seen this. We start concocting stories versus saying, you know what? That's a fact. I'm not well versed in that. You know what? Let me be quiet. Let me go look into that. Right? See, some of us, not even some of us, we really need to just be sticking to the solution. Stop talking about the problem and what's the solution? Because then you're just running your mouth at that particular point, right? So let's get into today's conversation. All right. Today's conversation comes by the way of Six The Goddis. Peace to you. This conversation is directed at the ideology. We can disagree. I disagree with some of the points I'm going to show in this video. I'm talking about the ideology. Okay. And so let's roll clip number 1.
I find it very interesting that 24 hours before you made this video, I did a video about how white people need to keep black people issues out their mouth.
See, to say that white people don't have no business talking about black people issues, and white people need to keep black people issues out their mouth, that is very, for lack of a better word, and I can admit when it's for lack of a better word, that is disingenuous, and I'm going to say it is borderline racist. Now, I know what you're saying. Black people can't be racist. That is bull crap. If black people had slaves, white slaves, and we did at one point, but nobody wants to talk about it. That's cool. If we had white slaves and we were calling them names and we did all the things they did to us and they called us racist, I think that they have the right to call us racist. For some reason, we think just because we were on the receiving end as being a victim and being a slave from the racist power, if we choose to act in the same manner against them, then we're not racist. And that's bullcrap. Okay. Yeah, we got to grow up. It's utter bull crap. All right. So anyway, I'm setting the stage here because that appears to be really racist. Why do I say that's racist? Okay. Again, there were 2 states of being. So you mean to tell me, do you know in the Civil War, there are over 100,000 deaths at battle? I'm not even talking about the people who died from disease, who died while being a prisoner of war. I'm talking about on the battlefield. There are over 100,000 white family members who had lost family members in the Civil War on behalf of fighting for the freedom of black people. What about a gentleman by the name of Jay Cook, who was a financier who raised over $45 million in Philadelphia alone to help finance the war for the Union to get the slaves free? The government, when Salmon P. Chase, which Chase Bank gets his name after, when Salmon P. Chase was Secretary of the Treasury, the government was broke and we're fighting a war. So the government had to sell bonds. People like Jay Cook took to Philadelphia, New York, Boston, raising money from citizens and business people, buy these government bonds. It's your patriotic duty. The government will give you a return later, but buy these bonds. Raising all this money to feed it to the United States government, which becomes the United States Army, for our cause. So white citizens, white civilians, and white business owners bought bonds, although they was getting a financial reward, and you should, because you gave up money, for the cause of ending slavery. They financed that. Well, how you think these soldiers had boots and wagons and horses and feed, guns, bullets, blankets, soup bowls, all of the necessities, all the things that you need. Not to mention, see, this what burns me up. Nobody really thinks about this. One of the furthest west campaigns was on Vicksburg, Mississippi, known as the Battle of Vicksburg. William T. Sherman was there. He in the picture pointing, and Grant was there. So they on the Mississippi River. Sherman will end up from Mississippi. They'll go over through Alabama. They'll go through Tennessee, fight a battle in Tennessee. Then Sherman will go down to Georgia, to Atlanta, burn Atlanta down, and go down to Savannah, capture Savannah, and then go back up to Charleston, South Carolina, when it started, burn that down, and then come up through the Carolinas, and it's the end of the war. They did all of that on foot. I repeat, these white dudes walked on foot. Okay? Across several states and fought a war for 4 years. And you're going to say white people ain't got no say so in this. It's absolutely, that's wrong. It's just wrong. Okay? You can't say that. All right? And so what about John Brown, the infamous? Is he John Brown get a pass because we consider him gangster, right? John Brown packed his bags up like, listen, let me leave. You know, he was in Pennsylvania, New York, Pennsylvania, then come over to Ohio, then come out of Ohio, go to Kansas. Kansas was so bloody. It was a civil war amongst the citizens. It was so bloody, they called that era Bleeding Kansas. This is 1854 to 1859. In that pocket right there starts in 1854. Bleeding Kansas. Kansas wants to come in as a slave state. And John Brown was like, listen, man, I'm tired of everybody running their mouth and talking. He took him and his 2 sons, went down there, and they started killing the white boys who wanted slaves. This is a fact. Again, if you look into Bleeding Kansas, you're going to see it was 2 parties. They was called the Border Ruffians. They wanted the slaves. And the Jayhawkers. They didn't want slaves. And they fight in this war 4 or 5 years amongst each other. The government didn't intervene, killing each other. And they called it Bleeding Kansas. So John Brown is like, listen, we about to go east. We about to go to Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, what's now West Virginia. We about to take this military post. I'm about to arm the slaves with guns. And we about to shoot it out and get the slaves free. John Brown and his 2 sons was killed. White boys. So you gonna say white boys they ain't got nothing to say about this? They always been something about this. You know how many Chicken George ass niggas it was that was like, nah, John Brown, you tripping, man. I ain't about to go breaking in the army and get no guns. I ain't doing that. Oh, no. Always been some Chicken George niggas. We're going to talk about that because that's the problem. So they can't say nothing about that? What about a gentleman by the name of Robert Breckinridge? He was like a representative in the state of Kentucky. He never made it to the U.S. level, but he was his thing in Kentucky. This dude had sons, and they fought. One fought for the Confederate, and the other one fought on our side, on the Union side. He has sons fighting against each other in the war, who possibly could have killed each other over this slave issue. They ain't got no say-so in this? Nah, man. You're wrong. You're wrong. What about Colonel James Montgomery? I gotta say it, from Ohio. Who gave Harriet Tubman guns? Colonel James Montgomery gave... Everybody wants to salute Harriet Tubman. Colonel James Montgomery gave Harriet Tubman guns. What you talking about? They ain't got nothing to say about this? I rest my case on that. See, I'll move on. So let's play this next clip about systematic racism.
We cannot ignore disadvantages that are systematically put against us.
Now, if it's systematic, right? I got one question about this. Why would the system allow the black man to vote 1870 15th Amendment 50 whole years before the system allows his white woman to vote? That's the question. Really think about that. There's systematic racism, everybody. Now, again, this is 1870 when we get the right to vote. 1870 is 5 years, the end of the Civil War. The end of the Civil War is 1865, same year. 13th Amendment is signed. No slaves are allowed. It's officially over. Period. We just smashed y'all. That's what we did as Union soldiers. 5 years later, Grant becomes president. Well, he actually becomes president in 68 and 72. So Grant's president. Not only that, we getting black senators. Hiram Revels is the first black senator. We getting black U.S. House of Representatives. We get a right to vote, of course, right? But the white woman in all of America can't vote. No women can. And then when the white woman get the right to vote, guess what? All women got the right to vote at the same time. It wasn't the white woman got a right to vote before the black woman or any other women. No, all women got the right to vote. So you mean to tell me that the system that's so clever didn't think about the fact that, wait a minute, we're always, as men, we're always in wars, and our little boys came and fought in the wars because they're young men. So now this means if we die in war, the only person that's back at the house is either my sons who ain't of age to fight in the war, my daughters, and my wife. I think I better leave everything over to my wife and empower her politically, because we as men may die in this war. I think we need to empower her, but they never did. When they did, we did it at the same time. Meaning black women came in at the same time. All women. But yet the black man can vote 50 whole years. Don't you understand that is 12 election cycles? 12. Where's the supremacy in that? See, when you talk about supremacy in systems, I guarantee you we're going to find its origin in the Jim Crow South, which was retaliation because they lost the war. Okay? So when they start putting in reading literacy tests so you couldn't vote, even though you just got a right to vote, which means what? We had to wait 95 years into 1964, 65 until Lyndon Baines Johnson passed the Voters' Rights Act. But again, how you going to pass the Voters' Rights Act in 1964-65 when we already had black senators in the 1870s? Who you think white people voted for those black senators down south? Because Hiram Revels was in Mississippi. So you think white boys voted that? Nah, We had a right to vote in 1870 via 15th Amendment. Something happened that I don't feel like getting into right now. Well, I might as well say it. It was a compromise that happened with Rutherford B. Hayes in his election. And then that's when the game started being played. But again, the games are being played by who? The Confederates who had just lost the war. Now they're playing through civil clapback through civics. Okay? But again, there's two opposing forces here. I always say it. The Ku Klux Klan was more than one Klan. The Klan got totally annihilated by Grant through the Enforcement Acts, also known as the Klan Act. Again, I'll say it. His Attorney General, Amos T. Ackerman, started selecting black jurors to convict the Ku Klux Klan, and they got rid of the first Klan. This is a fact. So when people do all that America, I give you the middle finger. You don't know what you're talking about. You're ignorant. Okay? So now let's move to this next statement here.
Black people need to stop getting flattered when white people do things for them, because white people have an inferiority complex for us in general. The minute a white man come in contact with you, the black man is always superior. Just we're talking about genetically.
When we hear, racism, when we hear melanin, the black man is superior to the white man, that's racist. You see that validates the whole beginning point when you said white people don't have a right to speak on black people issues. That's racist. It really is. But then come back around and say white people are inferior to black people. See, if we had that attitude from the gate that we're superior and we wanted to subdue them, again, that would be racism, right? The subduing is a reflection of a mental thought. So that's a racist thought, because if they think they're superior and wanted to subdue us, then we call that racism. So wouldn't it be the same way around? We got the thought of superiority. See, I'm going to do a video. Me and the Prime Minister, Minister Jew, we're going to do a video. Melanin ain't shit. I just got to say that. Don't mean it ain't special, but it ain't shit. Like, how do you use your melanin to solve the problem, original black man? The maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth. Like, okay, you still talking about systematic racism, but you got all this melanin. How do you use melanin to destroy a system and create a new system then? Since we so superior. And I'm not saying that, again, that it's not special. But see, those are feel-good words, man. Those are blinders to pump us up. And I get it, because we need to be pumped up. But at the core, man, melanin does not translate to anything inside of what you would call revolution. How do you use melanin for revolution? Please tell me. Okay? All right. So let's roll this other clip, man.
White people feel like by helping us or saving us, it makes them more powerful than us. So they'll disguise things they do for us.
But why can't they just genuinely want? Why can't there be on an individual level
because there's
people
no
that
such
genuinely
thing.
want the best for you?
Because there's no such thing as equality between us. This is why white people have to have a system to keep us at a certain distance. Because when we talk about our ability, like physically, mentally, we'll surpass them every time. So they have to keep this gap. It's never that they're just genuinely.
Again, when we're hearing no genuine help, again, like I said, John Brown, 100,000 people dead. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you know, like that's disingenuous. Harriet Tubman, Abe Lincoln, who sitting there and man, listen, man, that Lincoln thing gets me hot. Sitting there, you at the theater watching the play with your wife. You know what I'm saying? Just won the war. General Lee just surrendered a couple days ago on April 9th, which we're coming up on the eve of that. Today is April 6th. April 9th, man, you need to go outside and pump your fist to the sun. Send that cosmic transmission to the sun on that day. Reasserting your freedom and your blackness in the ether of the cosmos. Right? April 9th is powerful because next year in 2024 is about to be an eclipse on April the 8th. Told y'all that 7 years ago in 2017 when y'all was starting to get hip to this science. Okay? So anyway, you know, we know the people who put in work. I said that earlier. Okay? Now, play 2 more clips and we're going to get up out of here. Let's play this clip right here.
The reason why we get locked up a lot of times is because we react emotionally and we're not thinkers.
Anton.
We react emotionally. Hear me out here. We react emotionally.
Well, let me put my disclaimer. I am not involved in this part of the conversation. I'm not saying
think
this.
about it. Think about
That's
it.
him.
So in this one, you see how Anton is telling us we don't think. Okay? We don't think. And she says, nah, disclaimer. I ain't got nothing to do with this. I ain't want to talk about that. And that was interesting to me because to me, the way I took it, and again, this is just an opinion right here on this. So what I'm saying is not a fact. Everything else I said about history is facts. Cannot be disputed. It's facts. You can have an opinion why it was done, but the facts remain what they are. Okay. Now, this is an opinion. It was interesting to see that she decided to check out when it came for the logical part of the conversation. But what a coincidence, it is a known neurological fact that women's limbic brain, meaning the portion of the brain also known as the midbrain, the portion of the brain that deals with the emotional centers, okay, women have a larger emotional brain than we do. I don't know if you know, the brain is pretty much divided into 3 type of brains. You got a primitive brain, more of a reptilian brain, then a mammalian brain, which is the limbic brain, and then who you are right here is the human known as the neocortex, the rational decision maker right here behind your forehead. Okay. So the midbrain that deals with emotions, that's women's thing. So hence in the culture, we be like, oh, women are more emotional than men, more sensitive. Okay. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you're talking war, in this particular case, Anton was talking about strategy, and the conversation was based upon some video, I guess, that Anton had where he was somewhere at a bakery, something like that, and there was a white guy doing COVID, all in his space being disgruntled. And Anton's like, pretty much, I'm thinking my way through the situation, because for me to go high rate and go off, and then, yeah, I could possibly go to jail. But now that does me no good, and it's about to mess with my bag, and that could potentially mess up, other business I got going on. Not to mention my wife and my daughter will be at home for a couple days, if that, by themselves and whatnot, having to scramble. This is war. This is strategy. You see, so when you see what these men are doing behind me, they're talking strategy. And this is a live painting that was taken on Rear Admiral David Porter's boat. And you see strategy being talked about. Okay? So to have strategy means we have to think. But the logical aspect of thinking is what? Has always been more attributed to a masculine principle. Okay? Now, play this last clip, and I want to, because this is what this thing is really about, and this is what I'm going to really get into. So roll that last clip.
Going back to the example we talked about when you got attacked, you could not even defend yourself. You could not even defend yourself because you knew that even if you would have been within your right to defend yourself as not only as a human, but as a man, your black ass would have still got locked up.
You see, that's the problem right there. So from her perspective, really look into the psychology. As a black man, what I tell you, my conversation is really for the men. Okay? As a black man, You can't even defend yourself. That's what she said. So in her psychology, the black man is not defending, like the black man is not a defender. And she's correct. He's not. He's not. See, we wouldn't be having this problem. I always say the American slave is not the Haitian slave. The American slave was the most docile and weakest one of all of them. So therefore, that if we inherited some post-traumatic stress, you see, listen, they didn't even want to go with John Brown and get guns and get free. Harriet Tubman is said to have said that she had more issues out of the slaves than she did with white people. I told you, when you research Denmark Vesey, you gonna see a house coon, Chicken George, a slave, tell his slave master, I heard that there's going to be a slave rebellion, master. And they hung Denmark Vesey and many others. And they didn't even get a chance to do the rebellion because a house slave told, because he was scared. So you speed it up to today and you say we got issues with the system, but nobody standing bold against the system. No man. Why? Because we're scared. Now, I'm going to say this. The system has already been defeated. Do it mean it ain't no racism? No, of course not. But here are some facts. There are no laws on the book that discriminates and would allow white people to do something, but black people can't. Do that mean Wells Fargo won't discriminate when they see black on an application? Absolutely not. It don't mean that. People got their own little corporate policies and things that they play, right? When you a property owner, I own property. So when you a property owner, whether you want or not, do you want somebody who you probably can tell? Do you want a hillbilly who throw his feces out the window living next to you? Do you want undesirable people? Because it's just some people, no matter what the color is, that's just undesirable. Do you want undesirable people in your space, next to you, in your immediate environment? No, we don't. We don't. Okay? So, people discriminate all the time. And rightfully so. In Islam, it's called Furqan, which is righteous discrimination. You got a right to discriminate. You just can't do it based off of belief in God, and supposedly you're not supposed to do it based off of skin, tone, color, whatever. Right? When you go apply for something and they say, no, you deny because your credit score messed up, that ain't discrimination. No, is it? Because it is and it ain't, but it is. But the rules say, hey man, you got messed up credit, you're not trustworthy. You actually steal. That's what it really is. Credit is a reflection of if you steal or not. You took this and agreed to it and you didn't keep your word. Right? And so is it discrimination? It's a policy. Yeah. You can't qualify unless you're at this level in your life. So discrimination to a degree is always going to be there, but not the kind that's going to be, hey, I'm about to subdue you. That power structure is dead. Done. See, again, you have way more. You got so much success in this day and time, it ain't even funny. Right? Over 80% of millionaires are first generation millionaires. So there's crazy opportunity right now. Now, just because you got millionaires doesn't mean there ain't no racism. Again, no. Right? Is the NBA racist just because you got a basketball owner, a team owner that may have said some racist things about black people? Is the whole NBA that? Are all white? See, that's the thing. Are all white people racist? Because since white people ain't got nothing to say, can't have nothing to say about black people issues, are all white people racist? Can you say that? And if you can't say that, and history shows, and boy do history shows, the abolitionists, especially the abolitionists from the northeast corner, the Massachusetts, the Pennsylvanias, they took hella risks. White people ain't got nothing to say. Nah, what you talking about? They got a candle in the window as a secret sign to let you know this is the Underground Railroad slave. You can come knock on my door on your way running up north to get free. Come here. I'll hide you. I'll risk my life for you. They ain't got nothing to say. Salmon P. Chase, who later becomes Chief Justice of the Supreme Court when he was an attorney in Cincinnati, Ohio, defending a slave woman, mulatto slave woman by the name of Matilda. Because since she was in Ohio, she was free. But now they found her in Ohio and they wanted to send her back down south. And he's arguing on behalf of her in front of the court. They ain't got nothing to say. Come on, man. That's not cool. That's not cool. It's not cool. We need to get educated. If you're going to talk about this subject matter, we need to get educated on the most serious aspects of the conflict. We need to understand who is who if we're going to talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? And most importantly, we need to develop a plan of action. That's the most important thing. I don't like when women get into this thing. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like when women get inside of this fight. I become irked at my soul. Six The Goddis made a post on Instagram, and she forget what the post was. And she said, "What are your thoughts?" And I commented and I said, "You're a genius. But to see you in a fight and it throws off the facts, right? Puts you in the masculine place." And let me just make it plain. See, listen, man. As a man, I don't think men, raise your hand if you want your woman to fight against the white man in the system. You want her to go physically fight. That's your job. That's your post. Now, can she have my back? And like, yeah, babe, I'm riding with you. I ain't saying you can't. I'm not relying on you to. And then if my brotherhood is tight, get on out the way. You can be the reserves, but I'm not relying. Hey, babe, come on, let's go, babe. You ready? Let's go. They out there. Let's go, babe. Let's go get them. Nah, man. That don't mean that you can't be ready and you can't, you can't be ready. I ain't saying that. But see, a real man, in my opinion, knows. See, I don't think women really understand this. Y'all don't understand that being with you in a relationship and not even being with you, don't even know you, you're my responsibility when you're in my viewpoint, that I can't allow another male, right, to come in, especially one that don't have the same skin color as us, a different nationality, come in and bother you. As your man, I have to protect you, which means I'm willing to die for you. And I can never turn that off. So you may hear the arguments of, "Oh, you mad, but you ain't gonna give me no loving tonight because you mad at me. But let an intruder come in here tonight. I still got to get up, and I'm mad at you too, but I still got to be the front line of defense though." A man knows that he's willing to die for you every day. It's never turned off. So it's, nigga, don't disrespect my girl, nigga. Don't dare disrespect my woman. Right? So when women put themselves in such a masculine war, because it was a war fought over this issue. So when you put yourself on this battlefield, that becomes dangerous, because now you about to become potentially a casualty of war, and I can't let that happen. So now I got a factor protecting you versus me playing all my strategy to kill this system and my enemy. You understand what I'm saying? You see? And she made a post, Six made a post talking about, what's the district attorney down in Atlanta that's going after Young Thug, and talk about how the system uses black women to be their Trojan horse and to do all their bidding. And it was ingenious for them to do that. And they would never do that when the man is there. They don't go through the men and try to infiltrate the man. They go to the woman. And then when I read that, my heart is weeping in the inside. And I'm like, where the hell is the man at? Because when the man is around, that shit don't happen. Which she said in the post. They don't do that to the men. But again, it goes back to lack of protection. So psychologically, subconsciously, and consciously, women don't have no provision from men unless they're in a relationship with a nigga. If you ain't in a relationship with a nigga, then it's come here. I want to bust you down, right? I want to see what that thing do, right? I had these little white kids was on my Ring, and they come to the Ring camera playing, and I got the floodlight ring, and it's like, hi, you are being recorded. And then, so they come play on it, and he like, oh, dude, it's probably like even 5 years old. If you're happy and you know it, shake your vagina, right? And I'm cracking up at this video, right? Like, you're on the right path, buddy. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm saying that to say, you know, that's how men see women, right? You know? And so I don't like to see women in this space. I ain't gonna lie about it. Call it whatever. Call me old school. Is it, am I being let me know. Comment on the video. And I want some feedback on this. Comment in the video. Am I being, what's the word they like to use? Oh, you're a male chauvinist, or you're a narcissist, whatever that is, right? You know, just because I don't want to see a woman, it burns me up that Harry Tubman wasn't next to Harriet. That's all I'm saying. It burns me up that the black slave was such a pussy that the God force said, okay, well, I guess I'll put the glory and the power in Harriet, and then she leads all of these successful Underground Railroad expeditions of getting people free and coming back down south, taking the chance and getting these niggas free. And it's grown ass men. No, I ain't going. And she got to pull a gun out on this, you is nigga. You know what I'm saying? And you going. And Nan nigga, the record don't reflect. Nan nigga was like, yeah, baby, I got you. I'm with you. But and that nigga died in action. Like, it's like, I can like, okay, cool. I'm expecting that. You died in action, nigga. Salute to you. You tried. The record book does not have a Harry Tubman. It's Harriet. Because the black man is a coward. Do that mean I'm a coward? Yes. Because if I say there's a problem and I don't deal with the problem, what do that make me? So as the stock, shit, I gotta admit that. I gotta take that, right? But again, when I tell you, when you really understand the timeline of what it is, you ain't got them problems, homie. So you ain't even gotta be that coward, because you ain't got them kind of problems. Okay? All right, man. Give me some comments, man. Comment on this. Talk to me. Holla at me. You know what I'm saying? This is brotherly love. This is conversation. You can tell by my demeanor today. This is just simply about ideology, conversation, facts. Okay? Facts on the matter. You know what I mean? I love to hear from you. So make sure that y'all click that notification button. Hit the like button. All that good stuff. Subscribe, okay? Make sure that you absolutely do that. You can check out my other channel, Hip Hop Astrology TV. Hip Hop Astrology TV. Do the same thing over there, man. Hit the notification button, like button, subscribe. Okay. Also, man, if you want to get with me, man, I'm a spiritual dude. This is why this is called spiritual politics, man. All right. So I'm the cosmic guy, right? I talk about planetary rotations. Okay. So I know all about that. Okay. So you can go to Hip Hop Astrology TV. Go get that history, see what I'm talking about. And if you're interested, you can hit me up on my Patreon and come on through, where I am helping people best to understand some things. Because, see, let me tell you something. Here's the beauty about this. If we sit back and know the science and we give a prediction about something, it can be for you personally. Just say, hey, you can win the lottery, or you're going to get a job promotion. So really put forth your best effort, and then you get a job promotion. But that's personal. Now let's superimpose that on something that is more big. Or let's just say, hey, based off what I study and I understand these cycles, today could be a mass school shooting. And then that school shooting happens within that day that I said it could happen on. I got plenty of those, okay? If, let's just say, that was programming to try to strip people from the rights of, because I've heard this, it's a conspiracy to do crazy stuff like that, to strip people of their right to bear arms so they can institute martial law, right? You hear stuff like that. Well, that means I have a knowledge of a time of when this enemy is going to do something, and he didn't tell me. Now, what that make us? You understand what I'm saying? And see, martial law is a trigger for me. I want to talk about the system. Do you know that Dwight Eisenhower instituted martial law and made the National Guard go against the Little Rock police and made them desegregate their schools? Do you know that Robert Kennedy and his brother Bobby militarized the National Guard in Alabama under martial law and sent in Henry Graham, the general, to remove racist governor George Wallace out of the college door to allow black students, Vivian Malone and James Hood, to enter the college as the last state to desegregate the United States via Martin Luther King, for sure, Martin Luther King was a strategist. I didn't understand it when I was younger. I thought he had a white savior complex. Yeah, I didn't understand King until I started seeing some things like, oh, really? That was genius. But boy, you took some licks to make that happen though. But anyway, martial law was used against the white Confederate ideologies. It was never used against black people to this day. So when we heard all that fancy shit, King Alfred playing and blacks gonna be in Rex 84, we going to FEMA camps. Niggas ain't never been to FEMA camps yet. What are you talking about? It ain't never happened. We keep getting richer and bigger. I end with this. If the system is all like that, why did the New York Supreme Court allow Dr. Sebi to win and say, oh yeah, you did cure AIDS. You did cure these things. You did cure cancer. Well, not guilty, sir. We're sorry. The judge didn't get the memo. They could have said, oh, we got him. Got him now. Gotcha. Lock up for you, buddy. Now look, you know how many people are inspired, want to create Dr. Sebi's documentaries and living a alkaline lifestyle, getting into holistic herbal healing, have healed themselves. If they didn't want it to get out there, then why didn't the judge get the memo? You see? See, people keep thinking it's one system, and it's never been. It's never been. The government always had to go to the people to raise the money, which means you had to go to businesses, and individuals make up businesses. You understand that? All right. So let's not tell the Confederate horror stories of what they did. We need to learn how we beat that ass and the success that we got and the success that we have right now. And then men need the man to fuck up and keep beautiful women out the goddamn way. All right. I'll holla at y'all, man. Get at me. Peace. Hey, it's spiritual politics, man. Hey, ladies, I need y'all to slide on out the way. This that United States colored troop shit, where a black man joined the Union Army, came back down south, and we killed the former slave master. That's real reparations right there. We still got work to do, but this the truth. This that spiritual political shit.